So I've been predicting the future all week, and this is the final episode of this little series. Let's see what I'm going to go a little bit further out on a limb here, predict some crazier, more down to home, down to earth, whatever that phrase is. Things. Let's do it. Hey there, this is Perch. So predicting the future. This has been a fun week of just kind of throwing out some things about how I think the business will evolve. Am I right? Are these elements actually going to all happen? Who knows? I think all the right pieces are there. The biggest kind of question mark around all this is how willing are the publishers, the people in charge, the people making money? How willing are they to change? Because that becomes an interesting factor in any business where you have some companies. In this case, you have two really large publishers. Image is large and as well, but you have Marvel and DC. They're owned by their kind of corporate overlords. They've got to meet that master and supply that IP and do the right things by them. But they are making money, and this has been one of the goofy parts of the YouTube and some of the commentators and some of the fan revolt or rebellion against what's been done in the business. Is there's this narrative that goes out that says, oh, the comic industry is imploding, it's dying, it's about dead, it's on its last life support. I hope nobody actually believes that. I think it's if you're really pissed about current comics, maybe that makes you feel kind of good in your heart, but it's not an accurate statement. And I think the people who say that know that, because eventually they'll say it and they'll kind of walk it back a little bit as they go in. But it's the comic industry is not dying, it's not imploding, it's not on life support, and in many cases that presents an interesting problem. Now hear me out here. It's funny, by the way, whenever I do videos and I ever say something like what I just did, which goes against the talking points of some other folks, I always get downvotes. I always get like the same 2 to 3 downvotes every single time. I guarantee you, for whatever reasons, people listen to the videos like, oh, he's disagreeing with his anemic subscriber count. We must downvote. Okay, have fun, guys. Um, Facts are facts. I'm just saying. Um, the problem with if the companies were truly imploding, it would in many cases be healthier because it would be pushing the businesses and these corporations to change. But the problem is they are making money. And so when fans talk about, this is garbage, this is garbage, this is garbage, you're dying, and the publisher's going, I just made more money last year than I've ever made, you are an idiot. And they disregard everything that's being said. And that's a shame because some of the things that are being said, some of the suggestions, some of the problems that are cropping up in comics have to be looked at. And so when I predict this stuff in the future, I am kind of basing off, I'm making one assumption, and that is that at some point, the publishers decide they need to make money, and they are their current business operation, their current model is too risky to continue, and that change is going to have to happen. Now, why I say it's an assumption is that I think that while they are making money, changes have to happen. And if they don't change, then things are going to hit them pretty hard and pretty fast. It's going to be hard to recover. And a lot of companies make this you fall into that trap. They wait too long and they ride it on down. And I think there's a decent risk that Marvel and DC will do this because of two factors. One, they're part of a big corporation, so there's a false sense of security in kind of this blanket of money and stability that they think they have because they are owned by a big megacorp. And the second is that they've made these mistakes before, and I haven't seen a big kind of learning or understanding of the mistakes that were made. Marvel with the Heroes World purchase debacle and kind of how events and other things blew up in their face and different moves they made kind of in the 90s, in the early 2000s that panned out to be poor, or creators that they brought on that were crazy ideologues that created so much controversy and noise they eventually had to take them off titles. I mean, this has happened, and they continue to make these same mistakes over and over. And I think so that's kind of there's a risk in all these future predictions that the publishers just say nope, and they put their head in the sand. They just keep driving down the hill, and eventually things catch up with them. But at any rate, it's fun to make these future predictions. I do think in any kind of sane, logical business, this is the way it will go. And I also believe that comics as a business still has a lot of value, both to pop culture and IP generation, a lot of other things. So I don't believe that I don't believe it'll be allowed to just ride down into oblivion. I do believe that things will pick up and changes will be made, forcefully, and in some cases by different people. I think that a lot of the current administration within Marvel is at some risk, and I think they know it, and I think that's why you see some of the PR efforts and campaigns. I think that's why you see certain people at the top hiring for lack of a better word, troublemakers to kind of go out and defend them. They keep their hands clean. I think that there is that stuff that goes on, and I think you see this in any business when there's concern from upper management about how safe and secure their jobs are. But so it's been an interesting week. It's been interesting doing these predictions. I hope this was eye opening to you. I hope you had a hearty disagreement and debate with me over it. That's cool. I'm all good with that. But now I'm going to make some kind of more over the top or crazy predictions. So, looking at each company, first Marvel. I think that with Marvel, you're going to see the epicenter of events hit in 2020. I think 2020 you're going to have, for lack of a better word, a year-long event. It won't be one event; it will be many events. But you're basically going to see every single title get consumed and being part of an event every month. And I think you'll see it with Spider-Man. You'll see it with, they're past due to do something else with Fantastic Four and that side of the world. They're going to go to the Cosmic Well again with Guardians and those titles. You're going to see the Avengers do themselves a big time kind of event. You're going to see the X-Men have their second year event after Hickman's reboot. It's going to be the year of nonstop events with Marvel, and I think that's going to have the effect of killing a ton of titles. You're going to see a lot of customers start to ask the question of why would I buy Captain America? Why don't I buy just the event book? And you'll see people at Marvel starting to discuss the concept of canceling titles like Captain America and Iron Man and other things like that in favor of having event books that are kind of constantly rolling. So does it make sense to publish the Punisher if you have him as a major part in War of the Realms? Why not just put more money in and commitment into War of the Realms and not have the Punisher book as a solo kind of standalone? Does it get confusing? I think that dialogue will go on. I think it'll be there will be some toes in the water kind of testing this out in 2020 and early 2021. And I think the fan backlash will be pretty significant. And I think that may be one of the things that triggers kind of my next prediction for the company. I think there's going to be a pretty major management change. I think that folks like Sana Amanat can evolve into kind of more running some of the, what she does, some of the character development, concept development, but, higher up or in a different spot in Disney. I think that's, she is well liked by Disney and by a lot of the corporate folks there. So I think she will migrate up and out. I think Joe Q is going to migrate out. I think that he's struggled to find his footing within the larger Disney corporation. He's done some, but just from in the weirdest possible way, folks like Cebulski and Brevoort are better liked than Quesada at certain places in Disney. And I mean, he has his friends, but he hasn't made inroads like I think he'd like. So I predict he goes out. I do predict that somebody new comes in who's not any of the names I just mentioned to kind of manage the ship. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody more from the Disney side that gets inserted in. There's been talk at some point for some time, although I'm not sure all the people at Marvel are aware of it, of some folks from Pixar management kind of coming in to be more closely aligned with Marvel. And I think you'll see some of these moves play out in like late 2020, 2021. I think you're going to see some just shuffling at the top that will all kind of come across as very benign, but probably for comic readers are pretty significant. So I think that will happen. I think that I think that in terms of characters and what people focus on, you're definitely this is the lamest prediction I'll make. You're definitely going to see the Eternals kind of be a major kind of focus from the comics. I think that you're also going to see Marvel finally start to get it in terms of putting creators that match the characters. I think Garth Ennis coming in to do Punisher and Nick Fury makes a hell of a lot of sense, and I think you're going to see more moves like that. I think the Hickman coming in to kind of mastermind X-Men was it's hilarious, but it was a shock to some people at Marvel how well it's doing and how well it's being received. I think people at Marvel don't understand that. I think there's been some thought to the talent kind of acquisition process. It says, hey, a Kelly Thompson, a Matt Rosenberg, who used to write for CBR or Bleeding Cool, and they're just as good as a Hickman. They know the new people on the internet, and they seem kind of savvy. So let's they're vouched for by Bendis. So let's bring them in. I think you're going to see more of a return to form, if you will, of people like Ennis, like Hickman. You're going to see, I think they'll finally do something with Claremont. I think you're going to see Marvel kind of wake up and kind of recalibrate to the concept of, hey, we can make more money if we bring in some of these classic creators that match the books and put them on it. I think that with Marvel, I think that you're just going to see a couple more experiments done. I think that the Avengers is going to be looked at as, hey, we need to put a Band-Aid on this book before it spirals too out of control. I think that there's some concern there. Over on DC, I think you're going to see an increase of people from Bendis's network kind of come in and continue to take positions of power within the company. I think you're going to see that continual flood. I think DC is going to bill itself as, hey, we can do what Marvel did in kind of the 2005, 2010, where we took it. I think you're going to see that effort at least happen from DC. I think that they will get their act together where the movies are concerned, but I think they're going to struggle to have the comics attached to the movies. And I think that you're going to see some of their higher profile creators, like Scott Snyder, to some extent like Tom King. I think they're going to move out. I think Snyder's going to be doing more independent stuff. I think he's going to be controlling more of his own kind of destiny. I think in the independent side of the world, I think Miller will start to get his Netflix shows going. I think Magic Order and Huck are going to do really, really well on that platform. And I think some of the other stuff has the potential. But I think you're going to see either people aligned with Miller through that channel. He has yet to really start to crank on Netflix acquiring properties. And I think with Disney starting their own thing, Netflix is going to put more of an effort there to fast track some of this stuff. So I think you're going to see Miller and kind of that whole crew start to acquire more talent, for lack of a better word. They're going to start to put more people in the mix, and you're going to see, I don't see Snyder working with, but you're going to see more kind of bigger names start to work under that umbrella, getting their content into Netflix. I think you're definitely going to see that, and I think you're going to see a couple other deals get struck. I think in 2020, late 2020, 2021, you're going to see an interesting move of a fairly big name creator. I'm going to continue Snyder's name, but probably not him. But you're going to see, although he does have some background ties to Disney, I think you're going to see a creator like that come into the mix, and Disney will do a deal with that creator for movies or content or that kind of thing. And that is going to really shake up. And that may be one of the things that helps shake up the upper management of Marvel. Basically, Disney is going to go outside of Marvel to find a comic creator, find somebody they like, who's going to take one of their stories and write in such a way to adapt it for a movie or for a streaming service. I think you're going to see that. I think, unfortunately, you're going to see a very high percentage of comic stores vanish in 2020. I think the economy is going to dive into that recession, and I think it's going to hit retail pretty hard. I think comic stores are going to evaporate in that time period. And I think, in general, I guess the most important part is I think that comics as a whole is going to change some of the storytelling. I think we're going to see more of an effort to tell really iconic stories of characters. I think there's going to be at least an editorial mandate to stop with the, hey, let's subvert expectations and do something that people weren't expecting with this team or this book. You're going to see people kind of frowning on that, and instead getting a, you know what, let's have the Captain America, run that people are going to remember for 20 years. Let's have the epic legendary Green Lantern run that is going to be great for making a movie out of, and would be collected and be resold. You're going to see more of that kind of editorial statement of, let's not do what is unexpected. Let's do what would be beloved. I think that's going to be a pretty major change that's going to happen. I think it will hit Marvel hard, and I think with DC closely following. And I think they'll drive a bunch of the creators who are there now into the indies, and the indie market will either find its footing, like I predicted earlier in the week, of a fourth or a fifth kind of more major indie publisher coming on, better distribution for them, or they're just going to disappear. They're going to go back to kind of writing one-off articles, or wandering around Hollywood like a zombie, shopping their script. There's plenty of them now, but you're going to see that transformation take place, and that's my belief. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I've got a million more, and we'll do other videos on them and where things are going and how things are done. But it's been a fun week. I've enjoyed kind of just laying it out there of, here's where I think the future lies, and where things can go. And I hope it was valuable for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have some good arguments about it. You disagree passionately. You think I'm wrong, or maybe it lit up a new idea in your mind. That's actually the best possible outcome. If something I said gave you a new thought or a new idea to pursue, that's awesome. But more than anything, hey, I really appreciate your listening to all this, and playing along with me. I hope that you have a great day. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notification, send to a friend. My Twitter is Comic Perch. Thank you for listening. Had a great time.